when I go on and I look at content, I always find one person that always pops up in my feed. And I think the rational way in which she breaks down things just hits me to where I go, okay, well, this is one of those people. But then you see conversations in the comment section. It's like, well, they still just don't. It's like, what do we have to do? And that person is Jasmine Lane. She's joining me right now. Obviously a keynote speaker, political commentator, content creator, all the things. But more so than that, just a great person in general. Jazz, what's going on?
Oh, thank you. I'm doing great. What's going on? Nothing. Just another day in paradise.
A Phil Collins song that just clicked into my head. I saw yesterday that you posted a lot of stuff about Mark Carney, but I think that we were on the same page. I played this clip yesterday. I played it today in my weekend review, and I don't know what to do anymore because, like, I don't want to be one of those people that just harps on the same points all the time. I find myself even going, like, I'll say it again, and as soon as I do that, go move on to the next point. But let's just play The Economy's Picking Up, clip number 1.
You've seen now the start of the transformation in the economy just beginning to show up in the numbers. We're creating jobs at twice the rate of the United States. We have foreign direct investment twice the rate of our nearest G7 competitor, which is the United States. We are seeing growth pick up in this quarter. And most fundamentally, what we're seeing is business investment beginning to pick up, and that's because we've kept focused on what we can control, and we have what the world wants, which includes the greatest workers in the world.
Quickest way I can break this down, Jazz, before you just lay into it is we have what the world wants, which is a cheap dollar, which allows the U.S., which is the 55% of our foreign direct investment that puts us over the top, to buy 10% of our companies at a cheap rate. At least our jobs growth, no, it's not twice. Since January, they've grown over 800,000 jobs, and we've grown negative. And then when you just talk about these big lies that keep coming out, I don't know if you know how to do this, but how does the message get out there when your only win right now is foreign direct investment and it's coming from somebody you're supposed to hate?
When you say how does the message get out there, what exactly do you mean? Like the insanity, or how do we break through?
Well, I just had Joseph Bourne on. Great kid, right? And like very beyond his time. And he said, listen, like I start seeing it and I've noticed it that the left is the left, but now the right is coming like with these slapdowns of, oh, you don't know the facts? Oh, you're stupid. And there's no in between now. Like, how do we have the normal discourse online? Because that's the only place facts are actually getting talked about. It's not on mainstream media.
I would say number one is it is so important for people to have the full picture so they can discern information for themselves.
Yeah.
And so in this case, we're creating twice the jobs as the United States. Well, there's a couple big reasons that you could use that summer job employment. Also, the U.S. has been dramatically decreasing the amount of public employees, federal employees, whereas Canada has been increasing them. So I don't actually think it's a good sign for your market. It sounds a little bit more like a Band-Aid, a poorly placed Band-Aid where like the scab is above it and you just slap it on anyway. So that in and of itself, there's a lot of nuance that's missed there. Yeah. And the nuance, most importantly, is that a lot of the jobs that Canada is creating right now are not jobs that are actually helping the economy immensely. If anything, it's the opposite. It's jobs that are requiring more tax dollars to pay for them, right? Yeah. Jobs that are being made due to subsidy promises from the government that require tax dollars to pay for them. So the bigger picture is not quite as nice as it sounds, but governments historically, they will always cherry pick data points like this. The foreign direct investment line is one of my favorites just for the fact that you have all these people who keep saying, oh, Donald Trump is trying to own us. You have commentators on all major networks saying things like that. And it's like, well, fun fact, actually, our FDI is a result of largely, it's about 43% of which is American companies buying out bankrupt or leaving the country Canadian businesses. So if you're upset that Trump is trying to own us, why aren't you more upset that the government is bragging about the fact that they're just happy to sell off all of these Canadian things?
Like, okay, so that's what people think. It's like, you said 43%. I'm looking at mine. It's saying 55. Regardless, anywhere in between, you're just looking and going, people don't understand what foreign direct investment is. It's like an ability to where you have to at least buy 10% of shares of company at the minimum, right? And so like we are literally selling off companies while our dollar is cheap, and we're going, hey, our one winning point is foreign direct investment. Guys, let's clap it up for Mark Carney here.
Yeah, like what about Canadian investment? Because that's actually been fleeing en masse to America, by the way.
Right.
So, there's all sorts of little points there that are important. And so while what he says may be true, it's incredibly misleading because it's this really small thing. It's not elaborating on the full picture. And I have a feeling if the average Canadian knew all of the context, all of the nuance, which you can follow me for, that they wouldn't be praising this the way that they are, because it's not good for us ultimately. My favorite part about that announcement, though, was him bragging about our carbon neutral aluminum plant.
Santi, we've got that clip somewhere, the carbon neutral aluminum. I wasn't even going to say this because it's so dumb to talk about, but I've got the weirdest stats for you on countries that produce carbon neutral aluminum, and some of them are communists. Here's the issue that I have when we're talking about this, though. When you're talking about Canada and you're talking about our investment fleeing, our young entrepreneurs are fleeing at rates that we've never seen. We're losing like manpower. And yes, we have the best workers in the world. We have what's considered the most educated people. But I just don't understand how you have educated people listen to this statement and go, great job,
protecting
Mark.
our jobs, investing in the future. And you see a great demonstration of that here, making carbon neutral aluminum, the first demonstration plant in the world in order to make carbon neutral aluminum. That's a partnership.
This was his answer, Jazz, to how he was going to be competitive and beat the United States was carbon neutral aluminum. Go ahead.
So fun fact, that project was initially announced in 2024. It's not expected to start producing till at least 2027, if it does at all, because there's this thing that the rest of the world has bought onto, which is that the whole net zero goal, all of these carbon neutral things are making people really poor.
Yeah.
So they're not doing them. I mean, as an example, Germany, which previously wiped out all of their nuclear production, has said that was the worst mistake they ever made.
Almost bankrupted themselves in 22.
Yeah. So I do also think it's important to note, these projects here, this is not a 100% private sector project to begin with either. It relies on billions of taxpayer dollar subsidies just to make it happen. And I have a sneaking suspicion that if your project can't get off the ground without billions in taxpayer money, it's never getting off the ground. Not to mention there's...
Go ahead.
Sorry?
I was just going to say projects legitimately get funded all the time with private money, and maybe 1% of them get off the ground.
Yeah.
Well, let's use your free money.
So I just think it is total gaslighting of the Canadian public of what this actually is, not to mention the fact that carbon neutral aluminum
that's what we're after.
Is not competitive at all. No. There's very few countries. I think Apple is one of the only ones that comes to mind where they're interested in products that have this. That's it.
Yeah.
Like, it's not competitive. It's too expensive. It's propped up by subsidies. And the only reason why it works is by forcing markets and businesses, which Mark Carney did throughout all of GFANZ, throughout his entire net zero banking thing. The only way it works is by forcing them to comply with carbon credit mandates.
Yeah, but you don't need to do that, Jazz.
Not good.
When you can just force your own country to do it. We can be the test pigs or test guinea pigs. Well, test pigs. We can be the guinea pigs that are being tested on while this net zero thing just furthers us into oblivion. Listen, when we come back, let's get off politics for a second. I want to get to something that's become just a crazy story. I need a female point of view on it, because this is not about the LGBTQ community. This is not about that. This is about how you sewer your own organization before it even starts. It took the NFL almost 60 years to come to its knees when it came to politics. And that was literally when Colin Kaepernick took a knee to not stand for the national anthem. It has taken the WNBA 2 years of a TV contract to just blow up, not talk about basketball, and talk about one of the most ludicrous arguments of all time. Jasmine Lane will be with me on the other side to talk about the controversy of how we decide who's a man and who's a woman. Yes, that's 2026 after the break.
Join our community by signing up for the No BS Bulletin at...
But I also love that I'm talking right now to Jasmine Lane. She's a keynote speaker, political commentator, content creator, host of the Jasmine Lane Show on YouTube Canada. What do you got, like 220,000 subscribers? You're balling. Let's go, Jazz.
Wow, thank you. I like this. Can you give a speech at my wedding, please? One day when I'm lucky enough to get married.
I don't know why it came in like that, but it's kind of the nonsense that you need when you're talking about this. And I just want to like preface, as I always do with this, because I care about this. This is not about a trans woman, trans men conversation being anti-trans. This is just about the ludicrousy of everything on the outside. This is all the other people on the outside that are enabling a conversation where you're talking about biological men playing in women's basketball. Okay. And let's just go there first before sports, because Golden State Valkyries coach, Natalie Nakase, she came out after this whole Sophie Cunningham controversy where Sophie was just saying, I believe in trans rights. I would have them at my table. I don't hate anybody, but I want to stick up for little women who look at me and go, you're in a position to open your mouth and say, no, we should only be thinking about girls on girls and guys on guys. So Golden State Valkyries coach Natalie says this in response to the entire controversy.
I've been in those you shouldn't belong here many times. And for me, I don't want that space, especially Golden State, to ever feel like that. So I'm all about women, little girls deserving to play, and that includes trans women. So I'm all about inclusivity.
Now, the coach for the Minnesota Lynx was wearing a Trans Kids Belong. I don't think anyone would argue that they do, and especially when you're looking at the climate that we're in, I can't even imagine what it would be like to grow up and feel like you were in the wrong body or be told that you were by anybody else. But then Caitlin Clark came out. She's not defending anybody. She's not defending her own teammate, but she said this in an interview maybe a month before this controversy started, just about one-on-one in the NBA.
Current, not current, who would it be?
That's a fantastic question. Current or not current?
NBA, WNBA.
Well, like, I would get killed by every NBA player, but like Steph Curry.
But let's not have this conversation. Jazz, I mean, Sophie Cunningham said the best. We're doing a lot right now except talking about basketball, and I just don't understand why this conversation exists, and I just want to look at you and say, there's a reason that there's a WNBA, and that's because the NBA had to create a league so that women could play in it because they couldn't play in the NBA. That's not a irrefutable fact.
I would also add to on this notion, about 66 to 79%, it depends which polling you're looking at, of Americans do oppose biological men competing in female sports divisions at an older age of maturity.
Yes.
So the public overall, we're all on the same page. And so the fact that this has gotten, blown up into such a big issue alone is really odd to me. And I completely agree with your stance. I've hosted Pride festivals myself. I have I want everybody to have fun, live a happy life, and be nice to each other. That would be the happiest thing. However you go about doing that, fantastic. But I really do think that there is an activist class that's pushing this into something that it doesn't need to be. And I mean, in that regard, at least it's good for the WNBA. This is probably the most money they've made ever. So that's a bonus, I suppose, because of all of the controversy. It's unfortunate because what really should be discussed is the sport and all of the players. And that's the most important aspect of this. But I think overall, it's really disappointing to kind of see these things just get taken over by the culture that we live in when they don't need to be. It doesn't need to be about anything like that. Nobody's denying anybody literally anything.
No.
So it's disappointing. It's really disappointing. In 2026, here's where we are.
And I like that you said that, right? Because when the Minnesota Lynx coach wears Trans Kids Belong, it's like, well, that's not even part of the argument that we're even talking about. I grew up where you played with girls till you were 13 or 14, and then when puberty happens and it separates, well, then you separate. I even played in grade 9 with a girl who was in grade 9 who played on our team and the boys team because she could skate with us. The next year in grade 10, she tried out, she couldn't. It's just again, we're avoiding all these facts, but I just want to point out this clip because Konstantin Kisin, who is Trigonometry Podcast, which is a beautiful podcast, this literally got dropped last night when he is asking a doctor in the UK, her name is Helen Weberly, just literally questions about if someone can change their sex. He says it over and over. They go through 3-4 minutes straight where she keeps going down these kind of like she's meandering through the question without answering it and then going, oh, I don't understand what you're saying. But this is clip 14, him just trying to get back to some sort of rational conversation with a doctor about this.
I'm just asking scientifically and biologically.
So are you asking, can somebody be transgender? Is that what you're asking? I don't understand what you're saying. What your confusion
I asked you whether puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones make somebody the opposite sex? And you said no.
No.
But when I asked you if they are then the opposite sex, you said yes. And that's what I'm confused about.
Let me clear up your confusion.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, clear it up for us, Dr. Helen Weberly.
What the mistake and the confusion is that we assign a label on a child when it's first born and say, aha, you've got a penis, so therefore you're going to be a boy. But actually when that person develops, they're like, that was wrong. I'm not a boy, I'm a girl.
This is a doctor, Jazz. This person went to medical school, and this person gives advice to people on their health. And when someone is born with a dick, they don't think it's a boy. I'm sorry to be so blunt, but you have to say it that way. Like, she's trying to justify herself when you have to say, sorry, penis, 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 vagina, vagina, vagina. That was in kindergarten cop in 1993. And don't tell me that's old school. It's been the history of, we're not talking about the 0.01% of people that this affects who have cross-sex hormones. Like, we're talking about 99% of people that are born boy or girl. And this is a doctor trying to debate this with one of the smartest guys, I believe, on the internet.
I would say in general, this isn't a debate about biology. Biology is not up for debate, right? And it is really a case study in professional institutions and the incentives that they have to reward this type of thing for reasons that have nothing to do with medicine or anything like that. And ultimately, I would add to that as well. When the people we're supposed to trust for facts do not state facts, the problem is no longer the questions being asked. It is the culture that made it so that answering a basic question like this is dangerous to answer. It should never be dangerous to answer. And you can be kind and compassionate and still state the very same truth.
Are you ready for this? Because I just was last night thinking, and I'm like, you know what? We've had this conversation this past week about trust the science. It's like, guys, you know what? I do trust the science. I don't trust scientists. I don't trust the people who are the scientists telling me the message, because there is science out there and it's all sorts of science on all sorts of different studies. But you put up the one scientist and then they lie to us. And then some of them tell us the truth, but now we can't decipher between the two of them. Wrap this up. I want you to kill me right now. I don't know what that means.
Why would you say it like that? That was so intense.
I meant verbally, with just emotion about how ludicrous it is that we're 2026 talking about this.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. Absolutely. It's so bad because it's like you're literally treating a kindergarten level thing as though it's a trap, and it's not a trap. And for the record, they tell you this too. Like, if you are going in because you are having issues in terms of your mental health, how you're feeling about your gender and what you want to be defined as, they will tell you this. It does not make you a man. It does not make you a woman. It will make you appear more so. It will hopefully make you more confident. There's conflicting research on that, but overall, it's so embarrassing. Everything about it is so embarrassing.
And it's just absolutely taken what would have been a great product like the WNBA and just put a shade on it. But no press is bad press. Jasmine Lane, thank you so much for joining me. Appreciate you. All right, when we come